For real though, I don't even know if that is straight, because I'm not straight.
She just wants to be beautiful. She goes.
Hello beautiful humans, my name is Paige and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I feel like I'm going to be saying this a lot, but let me address the issue with everything. I'm not in my usual setup. That is because I'm really not central to this camera, am I? At all. Hold on. My setup is definitely not my usual setup. That is because my tripod is broken. Long story short, I'm filming on the cat tower. That's what's happening. Anyway, today's video, I am very excited to be doing. It is about LGBTQ plus communities and disability. Two things which I know a little bit about. If you don't know, I am disabled. If you don't know, I'm bisexual. I'm not pointing at my boob, there is a little pin here. I thought it was fitting. I wore it to Pride. It's a bi badge because I don't know why. I didn't know where else to wear it, to be honest. I wore it to Pride and I was like, when the fuck am I gonna wear that again? So, cracked it out for a video. This video is gonna be about what it's like to be disabled and bisexual. I've come across a lot of things recently and I've noticed a lot of things in the last kind of year as I've been more open with my sexuality that bother me, shall we say, about the community and embracing disability within the LGBT community, and also just general preconceptions of disabled people who happen to also be part of the LGBTQ community. And I will say, before I really get into this video, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to think or feel or believe. Anything I say in this video is my own opinion, and I'm totally not disrespecting or being derogatory towards anybody who doesn't have my opinions or my views or feels differently or lives their life differently to me. Everyone can be who they want to be, live their life how they want to live it. This is just how I feel. But if you don't want to hear my views, then please do keep on watching. And if you like this video at the end, give it a thumbs up, that would be great. And if you haven't, while you're there doing all that fun stuff, why don't you subscribe? Because I love doing this sort of content. I want to make more of this content. I'm just bloody loving it at the moment. And yeah, let's get into the video. Who did I sound like then? I sounded like a really shit cartoon character, but I can't think of who it was. Right, so after that rambly introduction, probably should explain to you what spurred me on to make this video. I came across an article, and let me find out who it was by, because, you know, I need to put some bit of like factual into this for it to make a little bit of sense. Tell a lie. It wasn't even an article. It was an American Journal of Public Health, and it was titled, and I am reading this off a screen by the way because my memory is not that good, Disability Among Lesbian, Gay and Bisexual Adults, Disparities and Prevalence and Risk. Oh, it was the word risk that got me. What bloody risk? And this is by a collection of people whose names I can't say, but I will put them up on the screen now. So this is a medical journal basically looking at disability and the LGBT community and the amount of people that are disabled within that community, and I guess the risks to them, which I've read this journal and I still don't quite understand, but there was a fact in this that kind of took me by surprise. And that was that in the results of this journal, they found that the prevalence of disabled people who were either lesbian or gay or bisexual was higher than the amount of people with disabilities who are heterosexual. So now this was published a few years back. We're looking at 2012 and I realise things may have changed, and actually I feel like the amount of people who are now openly gay or bi or pan or ace or whatever is definitely much higher. I feel like we've got to this stage now where it's more accepted, so I can only imagine that this number's gone up. I can't say that for sure. I do want to make it clear that we are working significantly like 6 years ago. I found that really shocking. Even being a bisexual person, I was like, really? Is it? Like, is it? It really surprised me, and it kind of got me thinking, why am I surprised? I'm bi. I'm that majority that they're talking about. Why is that shocking to me? And I realised it was kind of one thing, and that was that I don't necessarily see a lot of disabled gay people within the community and or within social media and society. There are a few. I'm not saying there are none. I would like to consider myself one of them. You also have amazing creators like Jessica out of the closet. She's incredible. She is a influencer and social media person who is both openly gay and deaf. I'm not saying there aren't any, I'm just saying in the majority, when I go to events that are LGBTQ related, the amount of disabled people there versus the amount of straight people there, what? The amount of disabled people there versus the amount of able-bodied people there, we're in the vast minority. So the fact that there are more of us who are actually gay and lesbian and whatever than there are straight, I'm just like, where the fuck are we all? Like, where are we? Why aren't we here more? And I've kind of come up with my own opinion of it, really, and I guess that's what the point of this video is. There are some things I've noticed about it and maybe some possible reasons why. I think firstly, personally, for me, again, this is all personal opinion, I spoke about this a lot. I spoke a lot about kind of the way that I feel disabled people are desexualized and kind of seen as very asexual and just like aren't seen in this sexual light. So the idea that they have these feelings is odd, is weird to people, and I've spoken about that very openly in a lot of videos in my personal life. Like, it's something I truly believe is wrong, and it's a misconception that I really disagree with, and it's something again that's cropped up for me personally, and I also feel other people that I've spoken to being bi. For me, people seem to be able to accept the fact I'm disabled on the whole. You get the odd idiot, it happens, like you get the odd person who's just like cripple, and I'm just like dickhead. Like, I have those exchanges often, but then when I turn around to someone and say, it's exactly what I say to them. Oh mate, that was a lot. But then when I turn around to someone and say, actually, I'm bi, it blows their mind. You literally see their little brain just melt and go like, I don't understand how you could be disabled and bisexual at the same time. I see their brain combust and they just don't understand how I can be one thing and another simultaneously. I think a really good example of this is something I actually put up on Instagram a couple of months ago. It was a conversation I had with a lady on the train. You might have seen it if you've been following me for a while. This is a genuine conversation that I had on train with a complete stranger that I think really encapsulates what I'm trying to say. So she said, have you got a fella then? And I was like, nope, single as a Pringle. Genuinely a sentence I said. I have no shame. She says, yeah, I see. No one wants to date someone in a wheelchair, do they? I mean, it must be really inconvenient for them. And it's not like you can have a proper relationship anyway. I really want to hurt her. She's not even here anymore, but I really do. Oh, yeah, makes my bum clench with anger and everything, that does. As she cut me off mid-sentence and proceeded to tell me I was too fat for a partner, I decided to actually go back to her first statement and say, why did you assume it was a fella? And she went, well, because you're a girl and you can't really date anyway, so why would you be, you know, not straight? I didn't even respond to what she said because I was just a bit like, what the fuck have you just said? Like, genuinely, do you understand what has come out your mouth? And you can see from what she previously said to me, this woman was rude. Not a lot of people are going to be that blatantly obvious to your face, but she clearly was that type of person who really didn't give a shit about people or feelings or what she said. It was the first time in my life that someone had so blatantly just said, you can't be both. And I was absolutely shocked. As shocked as I was, I feel like she wasn't alone in that belief. And again, that comes back to the point of us being desexualized. We aren't seen as somebody who would be sexually attracted to somebody on the whole, not a generalization, but a fair amount of the time in my personal experience. So therefore it would kind of make logical sense that because there's that preconception, which is bollocks, but because there is that preconception, there would also be a preconception, well, if you can't be sexy and have the sex and do the sexy things, you're definitely not going to want to do the sexy things with someone who's not necessarily conventionally who you should do the sexy things with. That was a big moment for me in how I realised other people could view me being a bisexual disabled person. And this is an assumption, and maybe it's wrong because I do tend to assume things are wrong a lot of the time, but trust me, they do. I now have a medical journal that says, excuse me, actually most disabled people are a little bit gay. So science. The other thing I've noticed, and this isn't a perception, this is generally a thing that is happening, is that the the LGBTQ community is quite inaccessible. And I don't mean that in the way of like, oh, we don't want disabled people in our community, but physically it's quite inaccessible. The LGBTQ community has sort of been built on this sort of idea of nightlife and activism. It is what I associate, and I feel like a lot of people still associate the LGBT community with, is like parties and parades and gatherings where people can go out and be who they want, where they want, love who they want, which I absolutely bloody love. Like genuinely love. Apart from your standard kind of Brighton Pride, your Pride events, your big events, a lot of kind of the smaller ones, especially the social networking ones where the community get together on a more regular basis, seem to be still quite underground. Sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively, and with that comes the venues that these places and these events are held in, and a lot of them aren't wheelchair accessible. I physically am unable to get to these places that they're held. It's very difficult for me to get to an underground rave, not gonna lie. I would love to go to one. If anyone knows an accessible one, hit me up, let's go. But for that reason, I think a lot of disabled people are marginalized from them. I think a lot of it is big gatherings, so even if we're talking about anxiety-based disabilities or disorders where physically for you being in a big crowd of people is not going to be great, so going somewhere like Brighton Pride, although it is accessible, probably one of the most I've been to for someone to get around, it's not accessible for everybody because there's a lot of people there. It is very overwhelming. I know sometimes in crowds I feel very overwhelmed even now, but sometimes when there's a mass of people and it's tightly condensed and everyone's like together, it's quite intimidating, and I can see how that would turn some people off participating. Unfortunately, there are not many events that aren't like that. From my experience, if there's an event in the LGBTQ community, it's big and it's grand and it's outlandish and it's there because that is the nature of the community, and kind of we are here and we are proud, and I love that. But also at the same time, I think it's very hard to find an event that may connect you widespread to the community, but that is a bit more subtle, an event that connects people from all around the community, but maybe isn't as intense or is genuinely held in a place that you can get 500 wheelchairs in. I mean, that might be a stretch. I don't actually think there's anywhere that can get 500 wheelchairs in. Even when I went to Pride this year, discounting me and my friend who are both in wheelchairs, I think I saw legitimately about 5 other people in a wheelchair, and probably 3 of them were in the actual parade, which by statistics doesn't make sense. I have statistics telling me that the majority of disabled people fall into this community, but I don't see them at one of the biggest events for this community. And to me, it makes sense that the reason they're not there is because that event isn't accessible to them. And that's shit. But I want to make it clear, I'm not bashing the community. I've had the best experiences in the community. I've had my issues with it. I've made them very public. I've said how I feel. But I genuinely, on a whole, find the LGBT community loving and accepting and open and accessible. And it has genuinely allowed me to be me and not be ashamed by that. So I don't want this to come across as me bashing the LGBT community. I'm not. I'm really genuinely not. These are just things that I've noticed as a person in it who happens to have a disability. I thought they might be interesting for me to share with you because maybe you guys feel the same. I don't know. Do you feel the same? Am I just talking shit? Probably. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. You always have really interesting things to say, and I just thank you because it makes me sometimes question how I think, and maybe I am being narrow-minded or too set in my ways. I don't know. But let me know what you think down below. That is the video. Drop me a comment. Let's start a conversation on it. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, I have been me, so please always be your lovely self, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye!